Buckle your seatbelts, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye. Not long ago, this film, Hayao Miyazaki's magnum opus, if you would call it, Spirited Away, celebrated its 20th anniversary as of late. When this film came out to Western audiences, it won an Oscar. So yes, we should definitely take this kind of film seriously, especially if it's had a mass influence on not just Eastern cinema, but also worldwide cinema, like alongside classics like Akira and Cowboy Bebop. This film has made a big impact in cinema history. And not just cinema history, but just media in general. I mean, just look at that face. Look at that face. How could you say no to that face? Cue the piano music. Oh yes.
I'll miss you, Chihiro, your best friend, Rumi.
When you're studying the frames of some well-told stories in film format, particularly the best films, you'll recognize that every frame, every visual has meaning and significance to it. The way the camera is positioned, what the director wants to make you focus on, the hidden depths and layers. In this case, Spirited Away has a first frame from our main protagonist's perspective, in which she looks at a gift of flowers with a gift tag with her name on it. This first frame, if you know what I mean, tells us everything we need to know about the film we're about to experience. The film directors who know how to tell a good story make the first frame and the first line count. The first line you hear is our main protagonist reading this farewell card with her name on it. She's leaving something behind. She's transitioning to something new. She's going to miss her previous friends. Why else would her friends give her the delicacy of these flowers with this gift tag on them? Seeing how this is a coming-of-age story, flowers could be seen as them coming into their blooming stage. But since Chihiro keeps messing about with the flowers and her immaturity, this could mean that Chihiro's not yet ready to bloom yet. The themes of identity make the mention of Chihiro's name extremely significant. I'll miss you, Chihiro. This indicates that Chihiro is leaving behind something she'd probably prefer to go back to, presumably. Bittersweet goodbyes, coming of age, identity, all within the first line and the first frame of this magnum opus. Keep this in mind. Her parents say they're almost home. Well, the new hero home, that is paraphrasing here. How are we introduced to our main protagonist? Like this, lying down, sulking. Obviously, there's a hint that she doesn't want to go to this new home. She'd prefer to be in her comfort zone, back to where her friends were. There's a sense of dullness there. She holds the flowers close to her, surrounded by all kinds of food and stuff like that. Themes of food, which surround Chihiro, as well as themes of going outside the comfort zone, are also at play already here. Food is quite a common motif within Miyazaki's work. It can bring people together, but it can easily be exploited for greed. Already the themes are being interwoven here. Chihiro here is a spoiled child, not ready for change, or at the very least, she doesn't want to be ready for change. New school? Blah! Clearly not the most mature of young girls.
It's gonna stink. I liked my old school. Mom! My flowers are dying!
I told you not to smother them like that.
Finally got a bouquet, and she's messing up all the flowers that she's holding onto. She's young, and she needs to mature. Already, her primary weakness as a character is exposed here. She's a spoilt brat who clings on to the past and clings on to comfort zones. It's fun to move to a new place. It's an adventure, her mother tells her. Oh, you got that right, mother. You got that right. Oh, man. I love that music. The composer for this music, named Joe, has become immensely popular for contributing his beautifully musical talents to Hayao Miyazaki's movies in particularly. And with his music, he helps to convey this nuanced quiet that's often associated with Miyazaki's movies. It's further emphasized in this movie with a particular instrument that is crucial to making people feel the right emotions in this movie about bittersweetness. Joe uses a piano. The piano is a very unique instrument in its own right. It's the type of instrument that can be sophisticatedly grand one moment, yet tender the next moment. This film tends to use the more tender sort of piano notes. These sort of tender notes tend to inspire reflection, another common theme that's prevalent in Spirited Away. Although even if reflection wasn't necessarily told to the audience, it's certainly implied. Especially during the slow scenes where people just let whatever happens sink in. It's very reminiscent music. That is one beautiful tree. Yeah, it's a beautiful tree. What more needs to be said? Well, I suppose more can be said. The environment often plays a crucial role in Hayao Miyazaki's movies. Of course, some more than others, but either way, the environment's quite essential to Miyazaki's movies, especially to this movie's particular motifs with paying homages to Japan's tradition of Shintoism. In layman's terms, Shintoism is this Japanese folk ritualistic belief system which tries to seek out harmony between man and nature. Essentially, it endorses seeing purity in nature. So when the environment is taken away, that purity is gone. As we will see later on, Miyazaki indicates that if we get rid of the environment, that means we have ambitions of greed. And because we have to put aside nature in order to fulfill these ambitions, it can destroy life. Man and nature have the capability of creating life, but they can also have the capacity to destroy. Arguably, men can destroy more things than nature can, because men are more prone to evil. Well, you can't really call nature evil, actually, because evil sparks from the will to quench one's sense of pride, to be self-centered, to be greedy. Miyazaki implies if we leave the environment, we are being generous, but if we take away the environment for our own ambitions, we're being greedy. And greed is especially prevalent throughout Spirited Away. According to Hayao Miyazaki, one could argue greed is the source of all evil. But as we'll see later on in this film, greed ultimately eats itself, because greed is never satisfied. And in the exact same ways, evil ultimately eats itself up. Evil is such a destructive force that it ultimately defeats itself. And goodness and kindness will always win out in the end. Arguably, from the perspective of Shintoism, it could be one of the main reasons why nature keeps growing back in the end. I've seen this film many times. And it's one of those films where you learn something new the more you watch it. Anyway, as Chihiro and her parents approach their new home, they decide to take a shortcut. Or, well, they attempt to. And they come across these Shinto shrines.
Daddy, I think we're lost.
Relax, I've got four-wheel drive. The father is quite confident with the technology that he has. Take note. Things are starting to get a little spooky. She knows this isn't some ordinary curb. They almost crash into this statue here and they come across this strange building. This very mysterious building. Curiously, the father investigates and he claims that the building isn't old, but rather fake, since the stones are made of plaster. Ever seen that movie, National Treasure? One of my favorite one-liners from that movie was, "Who wants to go down the long, dark, creepy tunnel first?" I think the wind certainly does. Well, it seems the wind certainly does. Yeah, Chihiro notices it. Already there's a hint of something that natural explanation cannot fully explain. Already there's a hint that this scenario cannot be fully explained naturally. After all, we can't see the wind, but we know it's there. Where could the wind be taking them?
The wind's pulling us in.
The dad wants to see what's on the other side of the tunnel, but Chihiro doesn't want to go in. But the movers will get to the house before us. It's fine. They've got the keys, they'll get started without us. Alright, we'll take a look. But Chihiro still refuses to go with them. Now, if you're viewing this with a sort of horror movie lens, you'd think Chihiro made the wise choice in going back and just refusing to go with the parents. Yet notice the way Chihiro insists not to go into the tunnel. Come on, you guys, let's get out of here. I'm not going! Notice how she sounds like she's whining. Notice her body language. This behavior in this scene, combined with the previous scene of her missing her old home, her old friends, messing up the flowers from her friends, and is not very keen on moving to a new home, highly indicates that Chihiro hasn't matured. She's a young girl who is clearly afraid of stepping outside her comfort zone. Just wait in the car, her parents tell her. But Mom! Notice how clingy she is. Wait for me! She rushes to her mum's side. Chihiro, don't cling like that. You'll make me trip. From what we've seen here, Chihiro is very dependent on her parents for her well-being. But if there's anything we've learned about coming of age, there comes a time when we can't depend on our parents anymore. Of course, psychologically speaking, we're always going to need a parental figure of some kind. But there's going to come a time when we grow up, and then we become the type of person that other person would cling on to. From what we've examined so far, the film does an excellent job, all within less than a few minutes, to establish Chihiro, her flaws, and the fundamental change that needs to occur. Chihiro at this moment in time is whiny, clingy, dependable, and later it's subtly inclined that she could be gluttonous or slothy, whatever. So now that Chihiro has been established, now it's time to set up this world. And boy, what a build-up and mystery. The violin quartet and that single haunting piano certainly adds to this solemn atmosphere that the film is establishing. Man, the difference that one piano makes. Man, these subtle, minimal expressions they had to use with the storyboard just to get the mood, or just for character positioning and turning. Looking back at the tunnel, looking back to her comfort zone perhaps, still clingy. I'm beginning to notice Chihiro's looking back quite a lot within these first few minutes. There's a future ahead of her, and yet she's always dwelling on the past.
Never her mind on where she was, what she was doing.
We get a strange, desolate land, and a single nearby town. Chihiro's father suspects that this area is an abandoned theme park. He says they were built everywhere during the early 1990s. He notes that the economy went bad and all the theme parks went bankrupt. Another indication of reminiscing on the past. Something quite solemn about memories fading away. Maybe not the memories themselves, if you've got a good memory, but the thing that the memory centers around wading away. Another indicator of looking back on the past to things that are now gone. Where are you going? You said just a quick look. Now let's go back. Yet the wind compels Chihiro and the family to keep moving forward. Have you ever looked up at a building and it looked like it was going to collapse on you? I've got a bad feeling about this. Chihiro notes that the building sounded like it was moaning. The wind can certainly sound like that. Oh, what a beautiful place. If we'd brought our lunch, we could have had a picnic. Now we're moving on to the topic of food. Transitioning now to the themes of greed. The father notes that the theme park owners must have been trying to plant a river here. This may be indicating a certain character later. My father's smell is tingling. Food's nearby. Maybe the theme park's still open. Wait a minute! Struggling to keep up, just catching up now. Alright, father, swallow the scent like a good boy. Or bad boy in this case. We begin to familiarize ourselves with this town. Not that much of the town itself is highly explored throughout the film, but note that Miyazaki's films tend to have an excellent sense of geography, as noted by some people. The mother notes that they're all restaurants. Where is everybody? Chihiro asks. I found some grub-a-dub-dub. Let's eat yuppie dub up. Anime has this thing for making food delicious. Whoa, look at the food. Hello? Does anybody work here? Chihiro's got a bad feeling about this. The parents insist on eating the food. The mother says, don't worry, we can pay the bill when we get back. I don't know, woman. If I was on a holiday or visited some strange place and I saw food just lying there, I probably wouldn't go munching away. That could probably be theft if I don't pay up first. Or at the very least, see the people making the food and then eat it and then pay them later if I was in some kind of restaurant. And so the feasting begins. But Chihiro refuses. We're gonna get in trouble, she says. Don't worry, you got your daddy here. He's got credit cards and cash. Another sense of confidence with technology. And also confidence in riches. I think I can smell anti-consumerism themes here. And the parents feasted, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. The parents begin to rapidly feast on bigger proportions. Something's not right with the way they're behaving. Well, great. Had enough of this poopery. Chihiro curiously wanders around the town for a bit. And then she sees the key location of this whole movie. The Bathhouse.
That's weird.
Wee lass, if you thought that was weird, then you haven't seen nothing yet, dearie. Wait, am I a plant now?
It's a bathhouse.
Fun fact about that line, it's a bathhouse. That's not in the original Japanese version. Why? Because this kind of building is fairly common in Japan, yet it's very unfamiliar to English-speaking audiences. So for the English dub, they added in, it's a bathhouse, just so the audience can get familiar with what this building is. Chihiro gets on the bridge. She looks down below, and she notices the train that she and her parents heard earlier. Something's just come to mind. They heard the sound of the train when they first came into this world, almost as if they were being transported away to another world, eh? Now, of course, with an analysis such as this, I could be reading far too much into this than necessary. But one of the things that makes this movie a masterpiece is that there's so much put into it. You'll learn new things the more you watch it. Honestly, one of my favorite things to do is to show this movie to my friends and see them react to it for the first time. She gets to the other side of the bridge, like Winnie the Pooh playing Pooh Sticks. And then she sees him. This is where the spooky stuff starts to get more deliberate. This young man named Haku notices Chihiro. Hello there. The sun starts to set. You shouldn't be here, Haku says. Get out of here now!
What?
It's almost night, Haku insists. Leave before it gets dark! As the sun sets, the lanterns are lit. You've got to get across the river. Across the river, eh? Having seen this movie before, does that relate back to Haku's identity in some way? Perhaps you have to reflect on that river in the past to unveil your identity. I'm probably reading too much into it again. I'll distract them, Haku says, and he blows this blue, pretty confetti stuff. Honestly, I don't know what that does. Weird spirit creatures start appearing. Mommy, Daddy, time to go! Daddy Pig, stuffs his face like a pig he does. Chihiro's in shock. Her parents had literally eaten the food so much, they've literally become pigs. The spooky spirit starts slapping the daddy pig, like the animal he is now. The spooky spirit starts slapping the daddy pig, like the animal that he is now, and Chihiro is even more startled. Greed had turned her parents into pigs. Chihiro says, Mom, Dad, where are you? In denial. The world around her gets increasingly frightening. She's in a very alienating environment, far away from her comfort zone now. Now, this moment could symbolize this radical shift that people will often confront in their lives. Or it could symbolize a moment in people's lives where they were in an environment that felt very hostile to them. Everyone around them seems dangerous, stranger danger. Everyone seems ominous. This scene could indicate stranger danger from hostile people, or the feeling of alienation in a new environment that you're not used to yet. Or perhaps it's an environment where you feel truly alone. Either way, the frightening appearance of these spirits adds to the alienation and isolation that Chihiro now feels. Chihiro tries running back, but splash! The way back is flooded.
The way is shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it.
At least I assume that they're spirits. That weird train station waiting looking area before, the way has now been flooded, and what was once an empty building now seems very busy. She's not too happy about it. She wishes it was a dream. Scared and alone. Spirits approach for a party. She was thinking about herself. She wanted to be fine. Then her parents turned into swines. She realized she wished it was all a dream. Disappear, disappear. Be careful what you wish for, dearie.
Go away, disappear. Is this a dream? Is this a dream? Go away, disappear. I'm Caesar!
I can only speculate that this is her transitioning from the physical world to the spirit world. Now, something noteworthy about this movie is that much of this movie was inspired by Alice in Wonderland, which is why you're going to see all kinds of strange things from a young girl's perspective. A young girl who's getting oh so curiouser and curiouser. And of course, because it's Miyazaki, he's going to pour his imagination all over this movie. And with this being an Alice in Wonderland type story, Miyazaki really let his imagination explode here. He really let his imagination burst all throughout this movie, though. This whole movie has just got Miyazaki's name written all over it. This movie has Miyazaki's quirks all over the place. To such a degree that the film is literally entitled Miyazaki's Spirited Away. This is definitely his handiwork, if there ever was one. So let's continue on, shall we? So shortly afterwards, Haku finds Chihiro. She's obviously scared. She needs somebody to explain this situation. Don't be afraid, Haku says. I just want to help you. And here we get one of the first scenes that indicate food in a good light. Food is a common motif all throughout this movie, and is one of many means of addressing the themes of greed. Food can be used to consume and indulge. Yet because greed is selfishly motivated, it never fills that spiritual hole inside of you. However, if eating food is motivated by actual virtue like invitation, friendship, family, health, well-being, then by all means, eat away. So food is a good gift, but it can easily be distorted in the wrong hands. Some may look at this and analyze a yin and yang aspect to food. In this case, Haku tells Chihiro, you have to eat some food in this world or else you'll disappear. Haku's point is proven when Chihiro tries to push Haku away, only for her arms to go right through Haku. She doesn't appear to have many other options here. Fortunately, he insists that this food won't turn her into a pig. Still, Chihiro is quite hesitant. She eats it, and she's alright. He insists on having her touch his hand to see if she's alright. We are then introduced to our main antagonist, if you would call her that, in a very bizarre way, not through seeing the actual person herself, but rather seeing her spy, who happens to have a similar face. Already we get a hint that this face watches this place. And Haku is implying that this woman, bird thing is dangerous for Chihiro at the moment. She can't be spotted. So Haku insists that Chihiro and him get going. But Chihiro can't move. Her legs are stuck to the ground. He tells her to take a deep breath.
In the name of the wind and water within me, unbind her. Get up.
He tells the grass, I take it, to unbind her. all the name of the wind and the rain in him. So we're getting hints of his identity already. Note what I said about identity. That plays a crucial part in this story. Perhaps the wind could call back to the wind blowing Chihiro and her parents into this place in the first place. And water could be foreshadowing who Haku is later on down the line. Haku swiftly takes Chihiro through the town, using wind powers, I take it, to move very swiftly and to open the doors, taking a few shortcuts along the way. Already we get a behind-the-scenes look to this place. We see vast amounts of goods made for consuming. Even a pig farm. The bathhouse is in business. As spirit creatures cross the bridge, Haku tells Chihiro as they cross the bridge, she must hold her breath. Even the tiniest breath will break the spell and everyone will see her. A spell, eh? Sounds like somebody in this area is doing witchcraft. Naughty, naughty witchcraft. Welcome, welcome! Duck Totoro! I'm back from my mission. Welcome back, Master Haku! She holds her breath. They cross the bridge. Duck Totoro! We see all kinds of strange spirit beings, but arguably none stranger than this one here. This lone spirit creature just seems to be minding his own business, and yet curiously looks at Haku. I honestly have no idea if he's able to see Chihiro at the moment or not. I have no idea. Maybe he notices something odd.
Hi-yo, Kermit the Frog here. Welcome to the Spirit Away Show. Hooray!
It's time to play the Oops. Master Haku, I noticed there's a human here.
The cover's been blown and Haku puts a bubble on the frog. Haku flies away with Chihiro. Wait a minute, why didn't you just fly up to Yubaba's place with Chihiro at hand? Ah, whatever. He pulls off a Marilyn Monroe here.
Quack. I thought I saw a human being. I did see a human being.
Spirits inside call for Master Haku, Master Haku! Chihiro apologizes, but Haku says, don't worry, you did very well. Paraphrasing. Haku tells Chihiro some more instructions. Haku insists that Chihiro find a way to rescue her parents. For now, he'll create a diversion for her to escape, but Chihiro doesn't want to be alone. Again, she's very dependent, clingy. Now, of course, babies and toddlers have to be clingy. Babies and toddlers were innately designed to cling onto their parents to form a bond of love. But as the toddler grows to a child and the child to an adult, that child has to learn to be independent. Something Chihiro is afraid of at the moment. At this point, Chihiro accepts the fact that her parents really did turn into pigs. Some things are too strange to believe at first, but if we're honest enough, we'll admit the truth. So Haku tells and shows, or shows and tells? Show and tell. Haku shows and tells Chihiro which way to go to Kamaji, the boiler man. Haku tells Chihiro to insist to Kamaji to get a job, even if he initially refuses. If she doesn't get a job, Yubaba will turn her into an animal. Here we get the first initial name drop of our main antagonist. Haku describes her as the witch who runs the bathhouse. By getting a job of hard work, not even Yubaba will harm her.
I have to go. And don't forget, Chihiro. I'm your friend.
How did you know my name's Chihiro?
I've known you since you were very small.
So Haku is helping Chihiro because he's already known her by identity and name for quite a long time, ever since she was quite small. Remember that. So, the mission begins. Then we get a very, self-explanatory scene of her going down some risky steps. I gotta admit, I'm kind of scared of heights. I'd probably be scared too. Although there's the train again. A sign of hope. Vertigo shot. Just one of many scenes to make her relatable. Smoke weed every day. The film has a great sense of slow pacing to really immerse you into the different environments that Chihiro is trying to familiarize herself with. Here, we see Dr. Eggman make his second acting role in a Studio Ghibli movie since Castle in the Sky, and we also see these cute little coal sprite spirit things also making their second acting role since My Neighbor Totoro. My neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away shared universe confirmed? So we see these cute little coal sprite things tossing coal rocks into the furnace, and Dr. Eggman here is breaking up these herb things to make the bath smell the specific way, I think, as well as power the boiler necessary to run the bathhouse. Dr. Eggman's quirk here is that he has multiple extendable arms, like a spider.
Hero name, Kamaji. Quirk, multiple arms. With these multiple arms, multitasking has never been easier. My hero spirited away.
So he's working away. Oh, she's nervous. Again, another scene to make her more relatable. Dr. Eggman slams the hammer down, indicating that these coal sprite things can take a break. Chihiro enters. She knows what she has to do. Hello, excuse me. Yeah, just chug down that teapot. Excuse me, Dr. Eggman. Kermit the Frog got me in trouble. Chihiro asks if this man is indeed Kamaji. This catches his attention. She asks for a job, saying that Haku sent her here. Before Kamaji has the chance to respond, he gets several little tokens with ribbons on them. We find out later these are like token voucher things for specific types of baths. 4 bath tokens at once. Back to work for the coal sprites. Oh, the man confirms he is indeed Kamaji, the slave to the boiler room. Chihiro asks for a job, but Kamaji says he doesn't need any help.
What gives you the right? What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Okay, this scene is actually quite cute. Like a leaf getting in the way of busy ants, Chihiro's feet is getting in the way of these coal sprites. Oh, sorry, Chihiro says. Still unintentionally getting in the way of everybody's work, adding to that sense of unfamiliarity with work. This man clearly knows his room like the back of his long tentacle hands. Perhaps there isn't much use for her, until she notices that one little coal sprite seems to be having a bit too much work put into him. Or her? The coal sprite gets a bit squashed by this particularly heavy coal, I guess. Either that or the coal sprite is a bit tired off from all the work. Here we get the very first scene of Chihiro embracing responsibility. She helps somebody else. She helps the coal sprite carry on with his work. Chihiro asks what should she do with it. The coal sprites respond by carrying on with their work. Should I leave it here, she asks. Finish what you started, human, Kamaji insists. So Chihiro takes that particularly hefty bit of coal and tosses it into the boiler fire. Still nervous about work, but she manages to do it anyway. This wins the admiration of all the coal sprites.
Hey, you runt! You want to turn back into soot?
The soup sprites thinks that Chihiro could do all the work for them. They even protest against Kamaji.
You shitballs got a problem?
Here we are then introduced to Meg from Hercules. Yeah, fun fact about the English dub. Since John Lasseter from the Pixar team was good friends with Hayao Miyazaki, you'll hear some familiar voices from the works of Disney and Pixar all throughout this movie. For the more observant of you, you've noticed that Devay Chase, who voiced Lilo in Lilo and Stitch, is Chihiro. The voice actress who played Meg is this character here. If you're paying attention, you'll notice a cameo from John Ratzenberger. And, fun fact, Yubaba and Zuniba is voiced by the same voice actress who voiced Zira in The Lion King 2. Neat, right? So she comes along to give Kamaji his food and offer the coal sprites these Japanese sugar treats. Apparently the children love these. Huh? A human, she cries. I always found this scene kind of funny because she's saying, look, there's a human, when she herself looks just as human as she does. I always find that kind of funny. Not in a haha kind of funny, but just a, that's weird. She says that Chihiro's the one that everyone's looking for, but then Kamaji says that Chihiro is his granddaughter. Kamaji acknowledges that Chihiro wants to work here. He's got all the help he needs through the coal sprites, and he insists to this lady to take Chihiro to Yubaba. So it seems that Chihiro has won Kamaji's respect, and someone who initially appeared hostile and arguably looked villainous has now turned out to be helpful. You probably could have found a method that didn't involve lying. Unless there's some kind of conspiracy in which Chihiro is somehow related to Dr. Eggman. She's pretty much like paraphrasing. No way, Jose! But then Kamaji's like, would you do it for our roasted newt? Would you do it for a Scoopy snack? Kamaji tells Chihiro, if you want a job, you gotta make a deal with Yubaba. Work will help you survive, and work will discipline your character. This film acknowledges that, and it's crucial to help Chihiro here grow as a person. Yet much like how food can get corrupted for evil means, work itself can also be corrupted to serve greed. Can't you even manage a yes ma'am or a thank you? Yes ma'am. She leaves her socks and shoes behind. Because the lady said so. The coal sprites seem to really love those socks and shoes. Thanks the Boilerman. Okay. Ow! Thank you, Mr. Boilerman. As this lady and Chihiro make their way through the bathhouse, we get to see the sheer scope of it.
Get over here.
Going up the elevator, this lady advises Chihiro not to lose her nose, lest she become Lord Voldemort. Or Michael Jackson, I don't know. And to think many people back in the day would have mocked the idea of face masks. Never underestimate safety, everybody. Never underestimate it. Similar reoccurring music, we get to see the bathhouse in full motion. The radish spirit shows up. People enjoying the baths. A place of rehabilitation, relaxation. Duck Totoros! More strange spirit beings. This guy calls out to the woman who's apparently named Lynn. Lynn pushes Chihiro into the elevator, with the radish spirit going into the elevator, who says he wants to go up. I smell human! Lynn manages to distract him with the newt that Kamaji gave to her. You'll find a running theme of people helping each other out. And many things come full circle. Oh, please give me that roasted newt. Please give it to me. Again, greed is at play here. Again, greed is at play here. Lynn tells Chihiro to pull the lever on the right. Yeah. Going up in the elevator. More of the bathhouse. Slow-paced atmosphere. Getting used to the atmosphere. Could this be an homage to the Totoro film with the young girl looking up at this strange big creature? Well, it's got the same kind of camera angle, same positioning almost. They arrive at one of the top floors, right at Yubaba's premises. Yep, seems about right. Polite bow, away he goes. Wonder what floor he's going to. Maybe the radish spirit has a special top floor? Maybe a fine cuisine of his own. These backdrops are amazingly detailed. Honestly, you could almost just reach out and just practically touch them. Look at the vase! Look at the vase! Yubaba speaks through the knocker. Aren't you going to knock? Seeing how this is an Alice in Wonderland inspired story, could this be an homage to that talking doorknob? Well, here she is. We're introduced to our main antagonist. We have an orchestra and a choir, yet that single haunting piano is still dominant throughout the soundtrack. Again, adding to the solemn nature of the movie. She's dragged into Yubaba's premises, into her very office. Here we see more of Miyazaki's originality at play here. You know, just three strange, disembodied green heads. You know, just hopping around. When we first meet Yubaba in person, she's working away at her desk, counting a lot of things, mainly counting up money and counting up this and that, writing this and that, and so on and so forth. Chihiro asks Yubaba for a job. Chihiro asks for a job.
I was wondering if you could give me a job.
Ooh, that piano.
All right, zip it. Zip it. When a problem comes along, you zip it. Zip it good.
Yubaba taunts her and counts up her money. Greed. She reminds Chihiro this is a bathhouse where spirits come to replenish themselves. And she notes that humans always make a mess of things. Humans making a mess of things. This is also a common theme throughout Miyazaki's movies, especially when we delve into the environmental topics that are prominent throughout Miyazaki's works. She notes that her parents got what they deserved by gobbling up the food of the spirits, and that Chihiro should somehow be punished too. After some further taunting, Yubaba says that she's impressed that Chihiro made it this far. But Yubaba insists that Chihiro probably couldn't have done it by herself. Let's thank whoever helped you, she says. Now if you've been paying attention, Yubaba the Witch is obviously trying to leak information out of Chihiro so that she'll note some people who will get into trouble and punish them accordingly. Chihiro could risk putting Haku and Lin and Kamaji, and maybe even the Coal Sprites, into danger. But Chihiro remembers her mission. But Chihiro insists on getting a job. She asks for work. This infuriates Yubaba, infuriating her so much so she leaps from her desk. I think the storyboards made it clear she was jumping towards her, not towards the ceiling. And she insists to Chihiro. And Yubaba says to Chihiro, "Why in the world would I give you a job?" And much like I've been analyzing before, Yubaba notes that Chihiro has several obvious weaknesses.
Anyone can see you're lazy, spoiled, crybaby, and you have no manners.
Then we get to see her be intimidating. But before she can taunt her even further, the baby's crying. A very big baby. Here we start to see a more sympathetic side to Yubaba. One of the running themes you'll see throughout this movie is that all the characters have their good and bad traits. Yet, thinking about it further, people are more likely to embrace their bad traits when they give in to greed. Chihiro, as Yubaba noted out, starts off as a spoiled brat, but is slowly becoming a more responsible person. Thus, she embraces her good traits. Yubaba is greedy and selfish, so she embraces more of her bad traits. And as we find out later, she's spoiling the baby, so the baby is also greedy. But she still at least has the good traits to take care of that baby. Seriously, that is a big baby. Mommy's here. Who's the daddy? Who's your daddy? I want you to give me a job, please.
Wait.
Taking care of the baby can be a messy job, judging by how parts of the wood literally get stuck in her hair. Then Yubaba says, okay, fine, you can get a job. Now here the film delves into the central theme of identity. A contract floats towards Chihiro. The music appropriately gets ominous for this particular moment. You'd think this would be a moment of victory. Perhaps if I was in Chihiro's shoes, maybe I would have gone for a nickname. Especially if I was told in advance not to reveal your real name.
Wait.
Yubaba threatens if she hears one complaint out of Chihiro, she's joining her parents as a pig herself. She's disgruntled of taking an oath to give a job to anyone who asks. There's also a running theme of honor here. Honor is very prominent in Japan and China. Honor brings dignity to people. And honor can arguably be said to set up the rules for the very bathhouse. Hence why there's all these deals and these rules for the bathhouse, which keeps everything in order, which sees to it that everything's settled right. Yubaba literally says she hates being so nice all the time. Chihiro signs her name. Yubaba notes that her name is Chihiro. Yubaba magically peels Chihiro's name off the contract and claims the name as her own property, now that she's been employed in the bathhouse. Chihiro's name belongs to Yubaba now, and she reduces her name to a mere number. Chihiro is given the name Sen, which I believe to be a number meaning 1000. Please correct me if I'm wrong. By naming her after a number, Yubaba is essentially treating Sen as an object to be used, and not as a person. By taking away her name, she strips Chihiro of her identity. Now, I hate to go to very disgusting source material, but it's been brought to my attention that Spirited Away is not just a commentary on the corruption that greed provides, but could also be a subtle critique on the industry of prostitution. Now, that's going to rightly disgust many of you, because by symbolically assigning Chihiro to this prostitution work, that's just, gross, all kinds of pedophilia going on there. Ugh. But again, that delves back into the themes of treating employees as objects to satisfy other customers' pleasure rather than treating them as genuine people in their own right. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to go any further into the whole prostitution way of looking at this movie. But I will say this. Lust is another form of greed. Lust involves a selfishly motivated desire for self-pleasure as an alternative to treating people with dignity. Gentlemen, ladies, may I give you some advice on how you should treat your boyfriends and girlfriends? Gentlemen, let me give you some advice on how not to look at a woman with lust. Don't look at the body. Look in the eyes. That's another real way of identifying them. They call the eyes the windows to the soul for good reason, gentlemen. Anyway, back to the movie. Haku has been summoned.
What's your name? What's your name?
Sin!
Say it louder. What's your name? What's your name? Chihiro, Sen.
Sin!
Say it louder. What's your name? What's your name?
Sin!
Feel the power. No one's gonna stop us till the world will be ours. What's your name? What's your name?
Cue Harry Hook. My ravishing little duckling. At this part of the movie, we see Haku in a more sour light. Addressed to me as Master Haku. Haku had the good traits to help Chihiro out get this far in the first place. Yet here we're starting to see some of Haku's bad traits. Bad traits hinting at the fact that he too... Bad traits hinting at Haku climbing up this ladder of hierarchy within the bathhouse, fearing he'd lose that power. Haku establishes that Chihiro's got a job amongst all the spirits, whether they like it or not. Lin congratulates Chihiro for making it this far. If there's anything you want, ask me. Okay, Chihiro says. Hey, what's wrong? The tone of her voice doesn't sound okay.
Okay. What's wrong? I don't feel so good.
No, Chihiro, no! Please, not this again. Please don't let me go through this again. Oh, he's just a boy. There's that train again. The journey continues. Lin shows Chihiro her accommodations and her work clothes. Chihiro asks Lin about Haku. She asks a strange question. There aren't two Hakus in here, are there? Two Hakus? Lin remarks, I can barely stand one. Lin reveals that Haku is Yubaba's henchman. This breaks Chihiro's heart. She feels betrayed. Quit the drama, go to sleep already! Haku climbing up the big dramatic tower.
Look, shadows makes me gothic, man. I'm edgy. I work for the main antagonist, man. I'm on a mission, man.
I could turn into a fucking dragon, man.
Yubaba flies off, the nosy jerk she is. Haku politely bows as Yubaba leaves. I love how these three heads literally just topple over on their faces to bow.
Break.
Yubaba flies off with her spy. Flight is also a common theme throughout Miyazaki's movies. Miyazaki loves to fly. Flying is associated with freedom throughout Miyazaki's movies, and it further adds to the sense of wonder that Miyazaki is highly known for. Misty atmospheric shot of the bathhouse. It seems that all the employees here work night shifts as they sleep during the day. Chihiro's still having a bit of trouble sleeping. Haku walks in. With the mischievous green thunder, are you telling the story? Oh, sorry, wrong movie. Chihiro is scared. Haku tells Chihiro to meet him by the pig house. Haku tells Chihiro to meet him at the bridge. A chance for Haku to win back Chihiro's respect, I take it. Chihiro makes her way down.